obviously you've got the Company's House Register, and you also have Dun& Bradstreet, which I've heard quite a lot about. But you also have to remember that Dun& Bradstreet is an American corporation. Okay, which is there you go. I see General laughing there, but the point of the matter is everything virtually globally is registered via Dun & Bradstreet, and they have two major investment, let's say, creditors above them. Well,
yes,
we can close them down if required, because one, we know that are operating malfeasance. Two, we know they're operating under the torturous behavior agenda, and all of those crimes are right on the form there that they're already committing.
Well, hello, lovely listeners, and welcome, viewers. Today, I have something a little different for you. I have the wonderful Honourable Lee and General Belton. So we have two guests for you today, and they head up the World Marshal Authority. You may never have heard of that. I hadn't until a couple of weeks ago. They're a bonded authority, and they are the highest law enforcement on the planet, basically. They are the good guys. Yay, we want some good guys. And Honourable Lee is the global commander, and General Belton is the chief judge of the bonded authority. And they came into my world a couple of weeks ago because I ended up on a Zoom call with a lot of other people. And I have to be honest, and I've said this to them both before we started, a lot of their language is like, what on earth are you talking about? Because it's old stuff, it's old school, it's laws, it's proper laws, let's be honest, not legal. And so I've asked them to sort of try and simplify it in this introduction as to who they are and what their big vision is for the world. So I wanted to do this sort of general introduction for people because these guys are doing a lot of good things. I've been part of, the truth movement, for want of a better phrase, seeing the corruption in every walk of life, seeing it through the police, seeing it through the courts, so-called courts, judges just totally disregarding proper evidence, proper laws, and people losing their homes and their jobs and everything else in between that's been happening over the last few years since the insanity of 2020. And so it was intriguing for me to meet these guys and listen to what they're about. Anyway, without further ado, and before we do the introductions, please like, share, subscribe, comment on these videos. It helps me to grow the channel. And as YouTube are refusing to monetize me now because of my content, if you can buy me a coffee /Mel Clark, any donations are gratefully received. Do you want to talk about how you two met, you and General Belton, and how this bonded authority actually came about? How did it all start?
Okay, so General Belton and I met, I think it was around 2017, 2018, where we actually got together. But it was through different groups, which were actually corrupt themselves, as we found as we went along. And then I was creating an organization, for lack of a better term, at that time, not knowing as much as I do today, called Alternations. So the Alternations was a newer or a reinvented format of the United Nations where people could come in as IGOs and so on, and all of their let's say inventions and things that will help the world could be protected, their IPs and so on and so forth. So, and everybody else in the world, it was a platform for all of the nations basically to come together. As you see things today, you've got all these differences of opinion with the UN, the BRICS, and so on, and everybody's trying to format all these different formats of platforms. So that was Alternations. And then obviously to operate with General Belton, he had his system, which was the Aboriginal Marshal Law Officers, which are domesticated or domestic in America itself. So with me being out of America, obviously originating from Wales, that's when we came up with the World Marshal Authority, let's say, concept. And And then all it was a simple case of was bonding and assuring it and then adapting it all over the world, which we have done with great success. We have marshals all over the world. But then, like you said at the beginning of the broadcast here, it's very difficult to comprehend. Believe you me, it took me a year or two to get my head around it myself. Once your head is wrapped around it, then that's it. I mean, you've blatantly said all of the corruption that is going on. Now, what do you have to arrest that corruption? What do you have that will be the basically the penultimate force that would come in and run that operation itself without you having to pick somebody up and run them straight back into their jurisdictions? So this is where the World Marshal Authority, the UCC, Great Seal Perseverando, and everything else comes into play. It is that enforcement. We promulgated, yeah, we promulgated everything. So General Belton, if you just want to go briefly into that aspect of things, especially with the UCC, the Great Seal, and so on, then it'll give you. We're trying to keep it as layman's as possible for obviously your viewers to comprehend.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Grantor Lamont Durrell Belton, sui juris at law. And of course, we would be familiar with the term sui juris, one who is not subject or disadvantaged to any illegal, political, or you may call citations or things that are not bonded, and one who manages their own affairs, sui juris, normal law, sound mind, jurisprudence. Okay, so I will share with you. I'm transmitting from the Great Seal Perseverando. You may know the state of Virginia. There is duality exists most of the time. You have a Great Seal, which is the sovereign seal. Domestically, you can get a reference, Code of Virginia, 1-500, which would be the sovereign seal, Great Seal Perseverando. And that seal, not only the colonists or the original people, there was a swearing or a subjecting themselves to sustaining liberty in 1776, the common law seal. It is non-political, political not, okay? So what that means is that there is a political body. You may know the state of Virginia. I'm making this an example so that you know that people do comprehend this. And we're very active at the domestic level, which you may know the state of Virginia. We may have our opinions, but we may, and we must keep to the facts. So if you get a reference to the colonists, what you may call an illegal conquistador or trespass against the Americas, as early as 1450, or as you may know, the 1600s. However, that trespass, what had happened is within 1607, 1608, the Virginia London Company was, they didn't make it through the winter. And of course, they were dependent upon the people that existed here first. We're not going to term them so much Black or Indian. It's the same. You can get the reference on the Virginia Negro Indian Act that puts them as the same people. And there was a undermining of that, which is another story at another time, which was Dr. Plecker, which tried to destroy all of the original records. And he did an international campaign to try to promote this everywhere. And of course, they got pushed back in certain countries that it was not right what they did to the First Nation people to try to erase everything. So domestically, here we are now in the now. Why am I talking about this? What relevance is this? I've given you the origin, a great seal, a lesser seal for the colonies. So somebody worked something out, okay? Meaning great seal, lesser seal, two operations. And if we were to go to the secretary's office in terms of Virginia, you may or may not have known a Janet Kelly, which was the secretary at the time, 2009 or 2010. Then there was a Kelly Thomason that had come after her. And the job of the secretary's office was to keep the sanctity of the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, a universal code that they would disclose that all businesses and all operations pertaining to the colony, the Virginia Corporation, is subjected to entirely the commercial law. The secured party creditor is distinguished from the Virginia debtor. The First Nation people were to totally have that disclosure. Since 1895, the UCC was created. Then years later, of course, they put in 1930 enforcement. What was the enforcement? Was to let the colonies know that there is a registered agent that had come from Britain or this specific Virginia London company, the enterprise that had entered in to the Americas, would have an intention. Why are you here? So they wanted to do business. And within the West Craven book, you can write this down, the Virginia London Company, the dissolution of the Virginia London Company by West Craven, 1606, 1624. Within that is the real standing that pertains to Virginia. The Virginia colony went to William and Mary College, made their records there. They come up on the Port Jamestown. Then they were able to disclose. When they got off the boat, it looks like it was a great place, and they were talking religious and spiritual as an emissary or an apostle or as a minister man. However, quickly turned into testing the land and the resources. And of course, that was the intention. And that is completely distinguished from the political, from the original people. Virginia London Company had tried to come in what they may call structuring a new situation of an empire where they went to New York. And of course, it would be strictly for political trade. In this specific conveyance, they emphasized that they came here strictly for that. Now, why am I saying this? And if you would give me a little bit moment, I'm trying to make certain that the people that are listening will know that I'm sensitized to these relationships. So here we are today, having this standing. The Uniform Commercial Code, unlike most people, did not comprehend that there was the operational system for non-debtor relationships. Secured party creditor does not imply that you are distinguished only. It means that you're not operating default or debt, and I cannot pretend to be a colony. So they layered that over the 13 original colonies, or that's those states, and that specific operation was because someone obviously didn't have clean hands. And of course, the commercial code is a mild form of marshaling over the financial accounts and the financial aspects of what they implied. Legislatures, which was nullified or dismantled in the year 1930. You can go to the ICC website or our website, Royal Marshal Authority, .life, and you would get furthermore educations on the UCC 1930 Geneva Convention that nullified all legislatures, legislative lawmakers, legislative actors, because why? They were intending to disadvantage people by forcing statutes of frauds or statutes of frauds. You must have prior and informed consent. And of course, as a business deal, I'm not going to accept it. You can't pass it. They didn't want to do that. So what they did is ignored. And this is why you have the standing today of registered agents in place, because they were reduced permanently to a corporate style renegade government because of the operational system not being bonded, forcing statutes on people, which was reduced to a municipal corporation called red money taking or renegade government. So this is why they have LLC status, which is limited liable company. We don't have to get into liability, the facilitation or the practicing of. You can't facilitate being criminal or fraudulent, but that's what LLC means. Fraudulent misrepresentation of one corporate limited liability status. That is the definition via the Uniform Bonding Code, Uniform Bonding State Law. So they knew these things, and the political sectors were aggressively in, at that time, you may have heard of wars and the revolution, and there was a confederacy that existed before, and that structure was the original 13 colonies that will stand on a firm league of friendship and will respect the sovereignty individually amongst themselves. And when they did that, they sort of got an amnesia approach and forgot that there was a situation over in Britain that we have today, which is what the Declaration of Independence, right? So somebody had you at a disadvantage, and now you're coming to other lands. And that invoked an international law. And this is why domestically Virginia, as most of the colonies of the 50 states that come out from that configuration, have what you may call here domestically, and I will share this with you so that you can see yourself. This is the common law. What does it say? Code of Virginia, Title I, General Provisions. You see, Lamont Belton respects the Code of Virginia, even though it is a fiction, but we must respect peoples and their relationships. So we have Article 1, Common Law and Acts of Parliament. Let us read. The common law of England insofar is not repugnant to the principles of the Bill of Rights, see, which is the fourth branch of government, if you need to initiate that, if they breach your liberties, and constitutions of this Commonwealth shall continue in full force within the same, and the rule of decision, see, except as altered by the General Assembly. You see, I put a line through that because the General Assembly is not common law, is subjected to it. They are not the power base. Let's go down and reaffirm that by 1-201. It binds the Virginia parliaments at all corporations on all 50, how can I say, 50 satellite or branches that they operation as municipals, the right and benefit of all writs. Look at that carefully. 1-201, the right and benefits of all writs, remedial and judicial, meaning the only remedy is writ, judicially, given by any statute or act of parliament made in the aid of common law. It didn't say state and federal law. Prior to the fourth reign of James I, of a general nature, not local to England, shall still be saved insofar as same as consistent with the Bill of Rights, which is to arrest the corrupt civil malfeasance actor. Constitution, they have a constitutional bond for the common law officials or the sheriff. And then you have the Commonwealth, which is a public or political trust protecting all of this. And you have acts of assembly, which is a legislature. Now, I said it was null and void, right? Well, let's go to the United States of America, Department of Travel. Do you see your seal here? Mr. Donald Trump, respects be to you. You see that? It says fee schedule affidavit official notice to law enforcement and public officials regarding UCC filings, insurance, bonds, claims. Notice agent is to the principal. Notice to principal is notice to the agent. Please be advised of any member of this organization, the United States Department of Travel. They're talking about what they may call foreign nationals or non-citizens, American nationals, which is a better citizenry because, of course, citizenry is a member of the political penal colony code. So they get it bad. I hate to say it that way, but of course, if you are a national, foreign national, does it ring a bell to you? If you have been studying in New York, you see what happened up there. No one wanted to come out and say the Venezuelans was what? Nationals. That's why they couldn't do anything. And it was frustrating to the domestic because no one knew the circuitry, right? So here's the salvation. We go back. Please be advised of any member of this organization, any national or foreign national from any company or country that comes in to the America's landmass, not the United States, which is an office up here, 2000 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Suite. It didn't say the military coordinates, longitude and latitude, right? It's talking about a fake or foreign address. Please be advised of any member of this organization is unlawfully kidnapped, meaning stolen, and or forced into a contract without committing a crime involving a victim, damages and legitimate witnesses to the alleged crimes. Commercial invoices and financing statements will immediately be filed with Uniform Commercial Code against all public officials, debtors involved, the agencies, debtors. They represent, and the superior officers responsible for the conduct of its subordinates, any violation, national or its related trust or a state will be enforced as but not limited to the following. And they have here the fee schedule. And this is how many charges the one gets. 10 years apiece, at least, for any of this: deprivation of rights, conspiracy against the rights of a citizen, emotional distress, mental anguish, peonage, unlawful incarceration, malicious prosecution, defamation of character, slander, libel, kidnapping, malfeasance, slavery, extortion, robbery, perjury, subordinate of perjury, RICO Act, violations of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is universal, breach of trust. The lien that is responsible will be responsible for any Internal Revenue Services obligations resulting from the discharge or cancellation of any debts, as well as earned income resulting from accepted settlements. Norberg Eisenberg, Director, endorsed this. United States Department of Travel or the United States of America's Department of State, fee schedule, affidavit, and an official notice to law enforcement and public officials. That's the law. There aren't any courts in the United States, okay? So what we had to realize is most people do not know, but we simplify. Because why? My specific interest judicially, I was not thirsting or lusting to become a judge. It is the fact that via Title 18, Section 4 within the United States Code in the colonial sector, which is written very well by Publishing Clearinghouse. You know, they wrote the United States Code, a Publishing Clearinghouse. Anyway, they did a good job. Title 18, Section 4. If you have knowledge of a crime that is about to be committed, then what are you to do? Not snitch, but it tells you to go to the nearest local civilian or military post, and you have ear that something may happen, may be a crime. I heard this person being threatened. I saw this person being chased. You owe your obligations and your duty to your neighbor, to respect them and to love them. So this is why you're reporting. And it becomes a conspiracy against justice if you do not. And the one can be held to the liability of being prosecuted if they know and did not do anything. We all won in terms of that respect. So if you hear the codes and the deliverance from World Marshal Authority, you're not giving the delivery in the sense of an employee under stress. You get it? An employer trying to make some type of budget or have to stay within that confines and may have some type of struggle with the office. And I want you all to know that within the United States, they have what you may call encumbered party. They're not really in office. Don't play around with the term color of law, thinking that you're going to have a lawful relationship. It resembles. This is why most people cry when they come out of a court that didn't pertain to that specific relationship. So let's say this. If you go to domestic court or local circuitry, domestic or circuit, they may not disclose to you that they are subject to the Uniform Commercial Code. They are. How you pull them into that is by presenting, not represent, meaning a lawyer to represent you. See, you are no longer presenting yourself. You get it? The representative is there. So to make certain that that stop, UCC 1-207, UCC 1-308, UCC 1, nothing can preclude a common law action, no matter what you do or what you say. UCC 1-30, 1-103.6. So at short, being very explicit and very elementary about there was never for you to be under subjection or to control. The United States government, I use that as an example in terms of the fault because they started off what you may call the 10 Commandments. And if you're not familiar with that, you would go to a common law book and it is right here. And it tells you that they were founded on the 10 Commandments of Christianity, which when I listen to that, I say, well, was that fair? Yes, it is. It's a very moral code, very moral way of living. Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's possession. Sound like that can be codified and enforced there. How you doing, neighbor? Your door is left open. I love you. I'm not going to rob you. I'm Grantor Belton. I respect you. I don't know you, but how you doing, Miss So-and-so and so? Here's your bread back. The man dropped the package off. This is what we were to do. But what happened is the common law, this handbook here, and you have also the Sheriff Common Law book, which is on the website, that would tell you on page 20, force and statutes is illegal and you cannot do it. So you don't have legislatures. You see? So within this construct, trying to silence the original people, you have severability within the domestic framework of the so-called constitutions, and most of them were not ratified. Okay, that's another thing. So you have a corporate situation. When I say registered agent, please do your research on that. And in fact, I'm going to shut my mouth after this. And if you have any questions, please, you can render those. Let me give you this code domestically so it would not be foreign to you. Okay, let's go to Code of Virginia. My good brothers and sisters there, you know, I'm Perseverando, but let's say to you, Code of Virginia, I love you. Look at this. Code of Virginia 13.1, Corporations. Chapter 12, Virginia Limited Liability Company Act. And of course, they got an act that if I wanted to shut down this Virginia Limited Liability Act, there is a code for that. And it is a code also that I can warn them to tell them to adjust their behavior. If not, they can be prosecuted. All right, so let's go here. What is the purpose of a registered agent? We just went here. There aren't any courts in the U.S. The most powerful agency within the United States says, go immediately to the Uniform Commercial Code. It did not say go to the state. It didn't say, hey, go to the feds. It says go to the UCC. So let's go 13.1-1015, registered agent office and registered agent. All right. A, each domestic limited liability company and each foreign limited liability company registered pursuant to Article 10. Yes, 13.1-1015-1051 of this chapter shall continually maintain in the Commonwealth. Now let's go down here. The sole purpose for a registered agent, in short, so it won't be long. B, the sole duty of registered agent is to forward to the limited liability company already guilty, does not have insurance, can't be self-bonded, or foreign limited liability company as at its last known address, any process in the Virginia Code 3.13, in the Commission's Code, it says any notice or any writ, notice demand that is served on the registered agent, that code subjects them to you, your writs, your notice, your demand. It lets the person know that you have a choice to be a subject or not. So you have the fate. Of course, the political body or the colonial body was not going to tell you that. Of course, because they're shopping their brand of tennis shoe in the store. Do you like Adidas or do you like Nikes? How about New Balances? Did they tell you that? Those are different processes. You have alternative debt dispute. You have the Bill of Rights process if you go to the local foreman. If you needed to process the civil body within that context, good luck, because some of them are compromised because they get paid by the state. You know, they're connected to the treasury of the state. But their allegiance is to us. Or you would go privet, and you would have to take on the duties of being responsible as private and have your relationships, and you can still work together. That's what the registered agent was for, to make certain that the police know that you are distinguished, make certain that the courts know that you are distinguished. It's a beautiful relationship. If you're having bad domestic relations, it's because there's terrorism or some misunderstood or an agenda. It is not a mistake. This is on every continent, in every so-called secretary's office, that the Uniform Commercial Code, there's no jurisdiction over it, no injunction, okay, and no jurisdiction. That's it. You get it? No injunction from the state, no jurisdiction, and they cannot adjudicate on it. No kind of way. So if you have any questions, I'm transmitting again from the Great Seal Perseverando, created the Aboriginal Consular Court, Aboriginal Insular Tribunal, because we have a relationship. Like at the United States Code, Article 3, ambassadors, ministers, diplomats, and consuls. Yeah, those are separate jurisdictions or operational systems, not within the U.S., but U.S. respecting that before they prayed to the domestic circuitry to get their 10 square or 8-mile operation in another place, Virginia or the colonies. They granted them that, not the original people. Okay? So we have a great relationship. Someone loved us, and I was able to find the codifications here. And to give you the facts, Again, I'm transmitting Great Seal Perseverando. You may see this is Seminole Pacta Sunt Servanda, Lex Deus, but as you're a priesthood, it may not be that clear. You have two seals up here, Six Sunt Servandis, and you have Perseverando. Perseverando is the Great Seal, and then you have the Lesser Seal, okay? And of course, as Honorable Lee stated, we have promulgated everything. This is the records here in Henrico County, or Henricus. Belton is a member of the sovereign body, and this is several pages here. And of course, the standing and the status. So we do not change from our origin, and we do not try to kiss up to people, you know, coming up with every week. I need to prove to you, know, I have the shirt on. I'm not trying to prove anything to you, okay? You see right there, that's the seal. So I'm at standing. And all of the police know, and I respect them, and I thank you for allowing us to share what I have fundamentally for the community. Thank you so much, Honorable Lee, and to the host here. If you have any questions, I'll share with you further.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. Obviously, it is a lot to take in, especially if it's the first time somebody's listening to this kind of information. Before we started recording, Honourable Lee was saying that you actually located the Great Seal, you personally. Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes. What happened is the Great Seal, they were responsible to run a duality. That's every state that would tell you that they are under default. They didn't do it. That was supposed to happen in 1930. The legislatures were nullified permanently. So they put them under color of law. That's what that means. Where certain actors, oh, well, you know, I'm not fake, but I'm going to make this a real issue. I'm going to steal you. I'm going to sell you. No, you can't do that. That's not there. So it's not that the seal was in trust and they hid the seal. The 1776 seal was to arrest all political bad behavior. So they did not want that to be known. And we grew up around it as children. I would see it every once in a while. I didn't know what it was. And I'm trying to figure out, why do you have two seals here? You know, and the school that I graduated from, which was George Wythe, which is the principal character that they give credit to, which is in the secretary's office in terms of the definitions, okay? I have a secretary of liabilities office under here, the Great Seal. If you go on Virginia's website, they will let you know that the Virginia Sixth Sunt Servanda seal is 100% for the governor, the workforce, and the notaries within the confounds of their political construct. They make it very plain that that is not their seal. So what happened is, for the record, I've done it many times within the, you may know, Virginia commissions, and this is a name, Mr. Joel H. Peck here. Mr. Joel H. Peck was the commissioners. And in the commissions, it's the highest operation within the Commonwealth. And what they did is, every time that I would go into this office to try to discharge a matter, you know, whether it was a house or capturing a vessel or discharging any type of movements in the UCC, they couldn't do anything. It went on for several years, was able to create the trust at one trust in 2008. And after 2008, they began to see that I was operating as Aboriginal. So I finally came in maybe a year, 2 or 3 years later. They met out downstairs and said, Mr. Belton, look, you're going to have to do everything yourself. So I sued them within the capacity, and I have those records I'll share with you a lot of time. But there's a county in the fraternal order, which is, you may know, Chesterfield County. And I'm sharing this with you so that the general population would know. I'm simplifying this as much as I can. You have a court within commissions, people, that is for the secured party creditors, that they undermined it as commissioners because they did not want people to look at them as powerless. So they printed within their articles and within their mission statements that they couldn't be arrested. Listen to this, isn't that beautiful? They couldn't be handled by the people that put them there. Take your chances. If you go to Virginia Supreme Court, well, good luck. Well, I told them that it's not their facts. That's not appropriate. So we put the pressure on them. All of them have resigned in 2017 or before that. They never called out when they got hit by the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, or anybody that moves in. So before that, Mr. Joel H. Peck, I sued them. The Virginia body knew that I can do this all day. So they said, hey, you're going to have to do everything yourself. I said, okay, well, you comprehend what I'm saying to you. You comprehend what I'm saying to I. If you don't serve for I, or you don't discharge the duties as you are defined as the obligor, you would be arrested. Mr. Peck threw his hands up and say, Mr. Belton, I know what you're saying, but they, whoever these they creatures are, that's so powerful in the in Virginia, told him, which is the top commissioner, no higher operational system, you got to do everything. So I did. And that's why. So this seal right here is non-political. You don't have a political process under it. If you check the Code of Virginia can't write, they cannot write anything sustaining liberties. You see? Because you know why? They're in the direct contradiction to it. Because once you say you must, and once you put a penal code out, you now have challenged or violated the sovereign or the goddess or the god. And that right there is a no-no, because you have to comprehend that the people were put in position to serve you. It's never a time where you should struggle with that. If not, remove their butts out of the position or march them to the border. That's the relationship here. And we're not talking anymore. So we're training all domestic people, First Nation people. And as I said, there's a bicultural community here. You know, let's get into it. As I said before, when I open up, you have people that are in different parts of the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth is a partition, like a republic, of different nations and tribes. So that's not the Virginia law. The Code of Virginia is colonialized, should I say. And then they put the UCC within that 8.1 through 8.9. Check your domestic code. And if you see the UCC, it is to speak loudly that the entire state is under that. All of your actions that pertains to commerce or finance is a misrepresentation. Commerce is clean hands. You see, commercial law is distinctive jurisprudence or jurisprudence. Natural law, not political. It doesn't change. It doesn't misinterpret or misdirect you or people from that standing in terms of the rule of law or your substantive law that pertains to you. When it gets political, all that goes out the window, and you get what? A representative. Now you are no longer talking for yourself. This is the whole state. The Attorney General is estoppel, or the commissions per DMV has estoppel everybody's account. So no matter what you say, if you before the fictional judge, the commissioner in DMV that's tied to the tied to that registration within that vessel, if you didn't take care of that before, no matter what relationship you have, if you're thinking that you're in a state relationship, the commissioner is going to be at the table to speak for you, whether you know it or not. And if you go to court, that specific situation is going to estoppel all of what you thought being natural and all of that. So you have to have your burden of proof or your standing that you would make recordation and serve the state, the Attorney General, the FBI, the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, the local circuit, and the domestic court via the land records, and you will put your status there. And there's no quick fix overnight, people. You got to remember that people aggressively worked against your enslavement. Remember, the United States had become a slave holdings corporation. All right. So they didn't have no interest in salvation. Somebody else had to come in and layer a system over them, or you would be today violated in every construct or every type of way of life that you would be operating, because they're going to tell you that you're operating financial. No, you're not. You have commercial law. And on that note, the commercial lien is the most potent so-called, they say, weapon, but I don't like to use that term, the resolve that's necessary, which is the UCC. Okay. So if you have any other questions, I hope that I'm being as elementary as I possibly can.
Yeah, I'm keen to know sort of what even got you into the whole court thing 25 years ago or whatever it was. But before you do that, the registered agent, I was on a call with you guys recently, and you talked about the importance of the registered agent. And in this country, we don't have anything called the registered agent, but you said, well, it will exist. And we're like, well, is it the clerk of the court? Could you explain a bit more about the importance of the registered agent?
Yes, what happens is the registered agent has to distinguish or bring forth that the state will, in short, when you hear, let's simplify so I can use this as an example. The state of Virginia, if you go to the Virginia State Corporation Commission and you were to get whatever type of corporation, a mom and pop, sole proprietor, whatever type of style corporation, SC corporation, they all would be reduced to what you call a mere stock corporation. Okay, that stock corporation, every individual has to designate the CEO of that LLC as one that you would serve process on. Serve as a process, 13.1-1015. That is an extension of the commissioner. Instead of him coming out and saying, oh, the states don't exist, that's why commissioners does with the court, because it's not final, because they're what? They're color of law. See, so they're only suggesting it to you, but it gets kind of harsh on the one. So that registered agent is there because you're going to have some type of breach immediately with the corporation, and it winds up going to court. So you have the registered agent that if you tell the judge within the domestic or the circuitry that, you know, if it's a court date and you reveal that you serve the registered agent or the CEO directly, they cannot entertain the case. That's the court. You have become now the one in the judicial capacity. You get it? This is what this is. They didn't train you that way. They trained everybody that public was something else, and you do your due diligence by going to the court. No, that is a colonial circuitry that the people that got liberty put their own Caucasian, or I hate to say it, white or whatever people into that configuration. They did wrong. I feel as though that they tricked the white man themselves when they came from England or Britain. They were to tell him that severability is within the code. If you go to Code of Virginia, there's a code that talks about non-dash citizen, Virginia General Assembly citizen, meaning the same thing as non-dash citizen, American national, non-dash citizen, American national. It's the same thing domestically. So you can participate with the body and not be subjected to it. But if you've never learned this, is because the state is trying to promote its brand of tennis shoe in the store. See, because you got to remember that they are offering products and services. They don't look at people as people. They're trying to offer some type of service to another product when they are product or some type of agent of what you may call a foreign municipal rule-making legislative board. That's what the municipalities are under. They are public securities dealers. So when they go out and hand out tickets at the stoplight, or how you doing, ma'am, you breached this or breached that. No, you didn't. See, these are public security dealers. So they're tied to a Security Exchange Commission in DC, and they take these certificates in illegally without your consent or prior inform, which you need, and they take these and facilitate them. I've already talked to the Security Exchange Commission. I told them that they were illegal because you can't force statutes on anyone. I've talked to Donette Belly, Warren, Elizabeth Warren, all of those people, Shapiro, that was in control of that mechanism. And that's what I do. Even before Biden became president, I contacted what they may call the Council on Foreign Relations. He was the so-called president. I mean, the oversight to that at that time. And the tribes have to get very aggressive about the memorandum because they are destined to give you bad behavior. They're destined that way. So the registered agent is the person that is the barber or the landscaper, you know, the lady that has the hot dog shop or the coffee, the big military complex, the school teachers, all of the politics, anybody that is getting a check or demanding some type of currency or payment for a service or a product, you must have a registered agent to settle. If you do not do business with them because you are going to get injured. They haven't shown the necessary spirit of what is necessary to sustain relationships. I can't do business with you if you're not disclosing. The one is not bonded. They're not insured. The registered agent is not in good standing. Pull up the United States registered agent certificate today, and it would say not good standing because they can't come out of debt. This is why they have a national deficit, and it continues to go on because why? They were to discharge, and they evade that and wanted to try to have some other scam and accumulating. And you can't live off of debt, as the last president stated, Barack Obama. That is not my president. It's the collegial employment sector. So remember, in the states, the reason why they may not be sharing with you all the registered agent is because of the them not disclosing that. But from what I comprehend, where are you? What country are
England.
you transmitting from? Oh, okay, England. Okay, yeah. Well, that they have a common law layout. I just read it there. Okay, they have that. In fact, they have an entire common law system. We pulled it up. Yeah, we're very much familiar with that. It's the same layout as Virginia, 100% the same. You see, so a lot of people have been hoodwinked and have been lied to. And what they did is went into hostilities so that if you try to promote or initiate this, how can I say, settlement? I don't like to use confrontational language, but we in Honourable Lee break down the angry Roman lex fori style. For Rome, by Rome, we don't care who we crush. We're going to do what we do. We don't care. That's Roman lex fori. That's the style. And it states that Thomas Jefferson wanted nothing to do with the common law of England because it was reduced to that style of Roman tyrannical behavior. So when they put this common law in, they went 1-200 and 1-201 and told the parliamentary at the highest level, there's something over top of you. The common law stayed. These people will have severability if they comprehend that, if they're in a franchise, or the First Nation people, if they want to interact with you, they will use a transmitting utility to transmit to your military regime and subject you to every notice, order, demand, or writ, or decrees, or letters of marque. You see, this is the registered agent.
Okay, so I'm missing something. Is the registered agent within the corporation that's trying to put one over on you, or is it in the court? It's in the
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
We have that registered agent. They don't want to disclose to you. They don't want to get into it. Okay. They want to try to hide it. But if you can't get to the registered agent, it's the oversight to the revenue. You will settle your disputes with the tax man because all of these are revenue officers. Even the hair woman, person cutting hair or giving services, babysitting, and all of that, because they're asking for money, fiat. They're implying when they do that, they invoke the Uniform Commercial Code because you are now invoking a commercial transaction. You see, somebody have to be secured. So they're going to ask someone for the state fiat. That is illegal and is felonious to demand it. So why do you have it in circulation? And if you don't, the service can't be begot, or you can't sustain the services if there's some type of payment plan. Oh, I can't send you my fiat this month. Okay, well, we're going to shut your meter off. No, you don't do that. The UCC was put in place to discharge. They are the ones who are incompetent at commerce, non-competence mentis. That's why they have a registered agent. You can only be respected commercially at the world stage if you respect other nations and cultures. They are standing. That's the relationship called commerce. And at the table, we have just kujins or peremptory norms. That's the code or the operational system that if I assault you, I'm assaulting the whole world. If I defraud you, I'm defrauding every account. If I try to undermine your sovereign, I wouldn't be sovereign anymore. That's just kujin, peremptory norms. We are respecting you to stay of good behavior. See, these are the things, the precepts that are necessary. You can see the state was aggressive and not educating or sharing with the children in the public sector. Also, please mind you, the Uniform Bonding Code was put in public schools. Did you hear this? That was to teach them how to create an affidavit and to arrest the public official by going to the sheriff office or either getting his own squad. I didn't say adults. I said children in elementary school. They took it out of the public schools because they didn't want the child to get knowledge of how to arrest the bad behavior of the public official. This was the course. And when they threw that out, they threw out integrity. They threw out respect and balance. And this brought all of this non-bonded activity into the countries, just like people that may have agendas type situation. Let me give an example, not pushing on anyone, but back in the day over here, some people call them transvestites. Okay. Now, they wasn't talking about transgender. They didn't take the transvestite. They prejudiced against the transvestite, but they had tried to do transgender to alter and to push that and let that be a vehicle which was misinterpreted, that everybody can just do whatever they want to do and you just destroy the natural Christian family. You are in an operational system, madam or sir. It was a Christian OS. So if you are homosexual or you identify with being gay or gender or whatever, people will respect that. There are people in my family that way, directly connected to I, that were homosexual men, or people that desired women in my family. They are very close. I'm not talking about distant cousins first. Second, uncles and aunts. This was the community here, not that we supported it, but we support them and we love them. And they never violated us. I never worried about the gay man raping or molesting a child in my family. It never happened. They never went perverse. This specific situation, the transgender situation, was a move to annihilate the entire culture over here. You wouldn't be able to distinguish anything. And even the homosexual or lesbian community had come out and say they don't represent that. No one should perform like this in front of children. On the street corner, you're having sex at a festival to try to promote transgenderism? No, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. Even heterosexuals, they would not perform an act like that. That is a sacred act to bring forth another life. And you have this open here and doing this. So the registered agent is very important because he is subject to your status now. You see, he have to respect your operation. Or you cannot engage. You have to state in the Constitution. Okay, I see. All right, so you can get your phone service. So you want this Motorola phone, right? Yes. And I'm of this nation and I don't pay taxes. Okay, you have proof of that, sir? Correct. Here you go. Oh, okay. Be right back. We have your account straight now. Not all we can't do. Well, fine. Get off our continent and go somewhere where you can do. Because if you're going to do business here, you're going to subject yourself to every culture and nation that's binded first. You don't offer services to special interests or people, and the economy thrives off of that, and that disadvantaged those of everybody else that was natural, because all of these products and services are tied to the domestic illegal court system. And when you go in there, they're going to favor the outcome of the merchant over top of the secured or the sovereign party. That does not work no more. We are done with that system. Respects be to David Wayne Miller in 1999 that revealed that the United States was never anchored to the landmass. See, so I come out in 2005. I had no knowledge of him with the Aboriginal martial law officers because we needed to comprehend to arrest the behavior of those who evade. It's not that they don't know now. They do know. And after a certain time, if I'm speaking a direct code to you and you don't comprehend that, then they need to question whether their standing is to take them into this. Because you see that I give you code. I haven't talked off my head. I gave you references. I showed people the forms that they can pull up. You see, I never talked one time, I'm Lamont this. I showed you the common law handbook. I was able to show you the Commonwealth of Virginia State Corporation Commission. You have the telephone number down here, Joel H. Peck, and all of that. If you don't, you can go on the website and get it. You see, and last but not least, I put a lien on the UCC jurisdiction. This transmit utility is for jurisprudence transmissions for all matters in payas fact in lex, not for quasi-fictional LLC, political policy, legal constructive fraud, which is in bankruptcy. So when you or a person say they're LLC, you're just confessing to defrauding your creditors. Please don't say that. Okay? It's a serious issue, you see. So if you want the salvation, if they don't have it, then the next appropriate party that you would go to would find a commission, or you would find the Secretary of Finance over top of the revenue office. And the revenue officer, you would go there and tell him, and you would take your standing. And you know how he's defined. And of course, like in Internal Revenue Service, I'm not for them or against them, but they can be hired as a public service to enforce your way. Like in the code of the Internal Revenue Service manual, they have an enforcement code manual, 9.1.2.9. It says, if the state or the federal gets into a conflict, then Article 6, Clause 2, which is treaty, or those that would be natural will be the victor. The state and the federal would take subjection to the Constitution. The enforcement in the Internal Revenue Services have that as the last result. But how many people wind up in tax problems? They're telling you, if your status is this, I cannot charge you. And our enforcement division will enforce that code. You are indemnified, ma'am. I'm not talking to you lying. I did it in 2012 via a fax machine. I contacted the Special Tax Administration and reached out to a special agent, Teddy Clark and Dave Totner. And I transmitted my status via a fax machine, and they got it. And they sent back a discharge of 5 items that they thought, because they had the standing of the colonial sector of Lamont Belton in all caps. So Lamont Belton, lowercase sensitive, had to call and let them know, in caps or lowercase, public or private, my mother gave out that name, who have interest with I, or trying to establish that. Be careful, because I am going to sue you. I'm going to turn you into an institution. You're going to work for I now. I'm not going to talk with you. So they discharge everything and sent out back the receipts. The hospitals, the same. The tax departments for the cars and for the access to houses, the same. All of it's the same. It's no problem if you simplify. Don't go in trying to fight with them and ask them of their delegation of authority. You should know that they're not there. So you have a private meeting. Call them first and say, good day, I need to speak to the clergyman. See, that's the peaceful. You don't call good day and speak to the warmonger. You have 2 parchments, one by bloodshed piece or one by piece by parchment pen. I chose to use piece parchment by pen, not by Roman angry sword, because they would take you out in the street and the Roman is pre-configured to beat you and to win on that note, because that's an operational system. See, the gentleman uses pen and parchment. You can call him weak or whatever, but he would get things done. And it's a much better relationship around the world when you don't try to settle things hostility. You would get into what you call diplomacy and ambassadorship, and that's the conveyance of the Royal Marshal Authority. Please stick with the revenue officer or the registered agent. Those are the 2 major responsible parties. And if you are a foreign national, remember the State Department. Ad hoc back, they have different trials and different services up there, but I've shown you that. And that is the standing right now. So if you comprehend that the highest level in the United States says go immediately and file a UCC, they're telling you that the UCC is the court system. It's the court system now. It replaced everything. And domestically, they don't want to get up and tell you that they fail, that they resemble law, they have no power, they lost everything, and they're just hoping that, it changed, and it will never change. You see, so we have to help them. And if you can do this, you'll get better relationships domestically, because they know it's this time. So I hope that made it clear to you.
Kind of. So to go to a real example, like say if somebody like myself, it's public knowledge, my local council made me bankrupt for council tax. Yeah. And it was all fraudulent. I wasn't even in the courtroom, etc., etc. So I'm obviously appealing this, and I'm confident we'll get it annulled. But if I was to go for the registered agent, that would be, you're saying to me the council should have somebody in place that's the registered agent, and that's where I would.
Yeah, that's the CEO. That's directly who that is, or whoever the head of the council is the registered agent.
Right.
Now you can go further along. Obviously, you've got the Companies House Register, and you also have Dun& Bradstreet, which I've heard quite a lot about. But you also have to remember that Dun & Bradstreet is an American corporation. Okay, which is there you go. I see General laughing there. But the point of the matter is, everything virtually globally is registered via Dun & Bradstreet. And they have 2 major investment, let's say, creditors above them. Well,
yes,
we can close them down if required, because 1, we know that are operating malfeasance. 2, we know they're operating under the torturous behavior agenda. And all of those crimes are right on the form there that they're already committed. You have to go to the UCC.
Right.
Now, you also have to keep in mind um, there's our UCC and the way it's spelt with a lowercase c, and then you have the all caps lock version, which is predominantly the London common law, which is I'm sure General can explain it better than I, is actually over all American corporations.
Yeah,
Well, that has been nullified due to the fact of David Wayne Miller, Russell J. Gould in 1999 taking over the postal union and becoming well, you know, you're still talking in an LLC construct.
Yes.
They still, it's like an illegal trespasser illegally trespassing upon another one. You know, ones that was already originally there, but they still haven't gone to the original people. So they are also linked. So everything commercial, or everything that is non-commercial is linked. All the systems are. And especially in the financial world, finance is not commerce. You know, it's null and void. All LLCs are null. It's all in the UCC bankruptcy. The entire operation schemes, agendas, plans, whatever you want to go through, you can go through them all. We all know who they all are. They are bankrupt. There is no such thing as a billionaire. Doesn't exist. They're all debtors. So all they're doing is pushing their frauds onto you for you to launder for them to give them back your, what would you call it? Your time in, your time out, your clock in, your clock out, your work, your money, your time. So in reality, it's like getting a credit card. It's just cloud funds. It's not real funds. We have the ability to spend with it, so you got to pay it back. Okay, but what are you paying it back with? You're paying it back with your money. You're laundering for them. It's really that simple. So this is where we come in with the integrity. We come in with the assurity. We come in with everything. I mean, there's not really much more we can prove. If you can find a higher law enforcement than us, bring them onto the court all day long.
Right.
You know, so you're looking at everyone, well, what about the police? What about the military? What about so on and so forth? They take fiat fraud. They get paid in a debt or note. It deems them liable immediately, automatically. So everybody's been looking at, let's say, the legal aspect, the contract law, the case law, and all of these. But in reality, it all pertains to debt. You have a lawyer, he gets paid in fiat. You get a judge, they all get paid in fiat. They all get paid in commissions or fiats. What they haven't done is actually looked at the perceived money that you're getting. It says, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of. I don't see the word cash or the word money on there. They just put the Bank of England. They don't have any money. Well, that's what it tells me. If you're promising to pay somebody, generally means you can't afford it. So where's your money? What are you going to pay with? Okay, you promised to pay. So what are you going to pay with and how are you going to pay it? So you can see how this rhetoric's been running. They've been running this scam. It's been null and void since 1930. So with that in mind, you've always got to look at it to say, well, what will settle the debt? What settles it? What discharges it? What discharges the deficit? Well, what is a deficit? A deficit is a bond. Let's say a treasury push out a bond. Well, what gives them the authority or the security or the assurity to push that bond out for somebody to purchase or invest into? What are you investing into it with? It's crazy. The world is absolutely crazy in the bank. The banking world it's beyond us, and how they can actually keep a straight face when they're talking to you anymore. This is how it is. So we come in and say, look, we can fix this problem with integrity and assurity. We're not going to create more of these fiat notes. We're going to convert those fiat notes into assured notes. Now their money is tangible. So you have presentation. Let's say gold, for example. If you have $5 million worth of gold, you take it to the bank and the bank give you $5 million. Then you go and buy what? Another $5 million worth of gold? So what's the guy getting the other end? He gives you his 5 million. Now you got 10. And then you go and buy another $10 million worth. What's the guy getting the other end? He's getting a promise to pay. He's getting the debt. Now who pays the debt? It's not him. He can just go and spend it. It's everybody else. Slap it onto the GDP and so on. Okay. Look at the world debt clock. Look at the UK debt clock. Okay, I think that's riding over 3 trillion now, 3.2 trillion. Well, what's your GDP? I think it's about 2.8. You're 112% in debt already. So that means every living being in the United Kingdom, as such, okay, I'm using that term, owes £140,000 before you spend one single penny. Did you ask for this debt? Did you sign for this debt? Did you agree to this debt? Well, who did all these things? The banks and the governments and so on. So now they are desperately clawing back. So they come for your assets. They come for everything you have. And I don't know why people don't see the picture that the government in 2013 already declared war on you people, on all people. The war's already been declared. And everybody keeps riding on this rhetoric that somehow or another, salvation will come and rescue them. It's not coming. It's here. We're the ones who can do that or afford it because of what we've done. So we're working with many nations. Go ahead, General. You saying something?
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just
Okay.
was bringing.
So now you can see this. It's all over the world. You have all of these let's call former colonies. Everything's been colonized. Look at Africa, for example, and look what's going on there now. Pushing everything out. Right. They're working on their own self-determination. They're saying we don't want this debt or fraud anymore. It's not helping. It's not worked. Chaos and mayhem in Ukraine, Israel, so on. What causes this? It's a lust, like a drug addict on cocaine, wanting money. This is what it's about. It's always chasing that elusive pound. It's a very famous saying in the UK and in England or Wales. You know, well, I get a better job this time because they're paying an extra £1 an hour. No. Well, what is that pound? So it's your pound of flesh. That's what it is. There is nothing holding it. There is nothing backing it. So we come in with this assurity because we are completely unlimited. We can bond, assure. This includes banks, includes governments, includes everything. It's like the UK, the British government call themselves sovereign. How can they be sovereign if they've got a registered agent representing them? You can't. It doesn't exist. They also say that the Magna Carta is not codified. They don't codify it because of the common law. Nothing wrong with that. But the issue is when the governments say, well, we don't operate in UCC, we don't do this, we don't do that. Well, go and take a look at UCC 1-201, international law. Didn't you write it? Didn't you approve it? Didn't you sign for it? Are you not under the ICC or the ICJ? Yes, we are. Okay, back to UCC 1-201. Yes, you are. So that's what you've got to keep in mind here. Now, from a lot of people I've spoken to that you're familiar with, Mel, very, very astute. Absolutely brilliant. Okay. I have been following a guy, I can't remember his surname. He was doing a tour. His name's Graham.
Graham,
and, you know, he's been, sorry?
Graham Moore.
That's it. You know, and I've watched a couple of his videos. Absolutely fantastic. And he's 100% correct.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all well and good, and I'm not disrespecting anyone here. It's like the rapid response and everybody else that are trying to achieve the same things. What the lack is here is that court system and the enforcement system. So you can run around with the writs, orders, demands, and so on, and all the courts will always ignore it. But it's that enforcement, that indemnification to enforce it via a higher court or a higher system than theirs, because their courts don't exist. You know, the Clearfield Doctrine in 2008 and so on. They don't exist. They're a corporate municipality. That's all they are. Okay? Now, the people working within those operations, they believe they're doing the right thing. It's like walking into McDonald's and asking for, I don't know, a turkey burger. Well, I'm sorry, sir, we don't do turkey burgers here. Okay? and Ronald McDonald turning around to you and saying, look, you can't use that fiat money in here. You have to use the burger money, the McDonald money. We don't accept all of that fiat fraud. But then being an LLC are under obligation to accept it. They're all under acceptance. So they've carried this system on. Now with us, with the integrity, this is what we're calling it, this integrity protocols behind the currencies that we push out, even though they operate on a Bitcoin system. It's not a crypto, it's not a digital either. Okay. And the Turon that everyone's seen us obviously on TikTok and so on, that is the currency. That is the official currency of Great Seal Perseverando. Now it will be flowing into banking systems as we move along, as we continue, but they will have different names. There'll be like an assured United States dollar, an assured Great British pound, an assured euro, and so on.
So the term Turon is above all currencies.
Yes, that's the backing. So instead of having that misrepresentation, again, you have presentation, which is the gold, as I mentioned, and then the fiat being the representation, the representative going out and saying, hello, I'm come here to purchase that gold. You have presentation, Great Seal Perseverando, and the voucher system that we roll out, obviously, to the Turon is the breakdown of the value. It's not representing anything. It is. That's what it is. That's the only thing you do not have in these banks. So we've actually created a perfected system, okay, which has its own value. You don't need to leverage against it. You don't need to lean against it. You don't need to offset it. It's on the ledger. It's right there. And you know exactly what you have. So yes, what will happen is with the issued currencies, now this promise to pay now that everybody is all lusting for and believes is king, becomes a tether. So eventually, as you go to print over the years, then you'll have not the face of the note will change, because we're not disrespecting that. All you simply see is assured written on it, so you'll know this is tangible money. Because you can stand in a queue of 10 people, go to the bank. Number one goes to the teller, can I have £10, please? And number two behind him says, well, have you got that £10 you owe me? And it'll just go all the way to the back to the very last man. Number 10 will come into the teller and say, can you put that back into my account? What's been paid off here? Nothing. Okay. So that's the reality here. So the Fairyland, Disneyland trading that's been going on, all these tier one platforms and so on and so forth, obviously to keep this debtor system going, has actually made it worse. Yeah. So if you're going to trade something, if you're going to trade a debt for another debt, are you going to pay off a debt with a debt? You just can't do it. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But nobody's going to turn up to pay your debt off with, I don't know, 1,000 tons of gold. You just don't have it. Okay. So that's the main concept behind Turon and the digital, well, we call it digital currencies, but everything is a digital currency.
So what's the big vision then? So for the layman that's listening right now, they might have just heard of you for the first time and they're trying to wrap their head around what you've been saying.
Okay.
Now we know how corrupt the whole system is in every country, and I don't know how big your bonded authority is, whether it's hundreds, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, I don't know. How are you going to impact? Now we can see obviously the systems are beginning to crumble. We can see there's stuff already taking effect. But how is David going to beat Goliath, if you like? What's the bigger vision?
Do you want to do this one, General, or shall I? Yeah, go on then.
Well, I mean, you can give the version, but the slingshot approach was he used less effort because obviously he knew, or Mike didn't know, but there was a specific part that he hit and the giant fell. It's called the transmitter utility. He didn't go up and run to the giant and say, I'm going to wrestle you. He slingshot him, and the intention of the vibration took it to a point where the giant had to fall. But some type of molecular situation, the eye somehow fused the brain or whatever, and he fell. Okay, so for the person or the being that's existing, I want you to comprehend that if you're listening for the first time, and Honourable Lee will come in, I'm gonna say this: it was a system before we were born that guaranteed liberties. There was a trespass against that. And when that happened, some people put in systems that maybe your continent or this continent worked tirelessly and effortlessly against it because they had a slave agenda to municipal, this municipal construct. So the church was very instrumental in that. I don't pick on the church. I respect. I grew up in it. Ministers, I got certain sheriffs that came out of that, and I served, but I left the construct. Going and performing as a minister, or taken into the pulpit to consider that the church has bad origins and they needed to repent. And you cannot work any further when you are the one. The Pope made it plain. Didn't Pope Francis state it? That the motu proprio is the highest legal instrument that existed. He stated that it was revocated, repudiated. Okay, then you had the manifest doctrine that he revoked. He revoked the Catholic Christian discovery doctrine. There was no Christian kings or queens on these lands in the Americas that invited them. That's what he stated. Then he went back to Romanus Pontifex 1450 and said they were never to come over here in the archives. We just happen to have a member of our team that is directly connected to Vatican's family. So, we are aware of the stuff a little bit more in depth in terms of that. And in that time, we'll be able to bring him in. But Honourable Lee, if you will want to share further, this is what happened. They collapsed everything and people just got up, and whether they were educated or not, they didn't want to stop. And some of our mothers and fathers perpetrated this enslavement as well. They thought, right, integrate to what? Slavery? That's what happened to Black people. They got mad. White people was telling them, man, you crazy as I don't know what. You can't be a part of us. It was basically probably trying to save them. Don't join this. No, I want to.
You can look at it. You can look at the recent developments with the Afro-Americans wanting to sue Lloyd's for the slave trade. The Lloyd's have bounced back and said, well, we only, over the 300 years, we only carried over 30,000. You were already there. So the actual first slaves in America were the Irish. It wasn't Blacks, it wasn't anybody. It was the Irish who were the first slaves. And they busted out a bit. You can go into the the revolution or the Civil War in America. Well, who perpetrated that? It wasn't us.
Yeah,
it was the Moors.
Yeah,
and it's the history is so convoluted. As we said pre the program here, it's his story, their story, everybody else's story. Everybody wants to hype up. Everybody wants to be a CNN. But what's the real story? What's the truth here? A couple of years back, General Belton brought up a good book. It's called Get the Record Straight, or Getting the Record Straight, about the history of the Americas and so on. But again, leading to where everything is going, it's already annihilated. It's already collapsed. It's already promulgated. It's already leaned. Now is the drive to push out the redemption. Okay. And like you've said, you've mentioned the Kingdom of Mana. We can talk about the GCR, the RV. We can talk about the Great Reset, everything else that goes on. But they can't do it because they have a debtor operation. How can you get rid of debt with another debt? It just does not work. You cannot discharge. This is what we bring. We bring the element of discharge and assurity into it. You can talk about insurance or having insurance, but what is that? It's the same as incompetent, incapable, or invalid. Not assured.
No interest contract.
Yeah,
right. It's a no interest contract, and
exactly.
and further, the Pope, as I said, I brought him up for a reason, and it is the secretary. The Pope traveled here. The Queen was from over there before she passed. She traveled to Virginia. In fact, she was looking for the Aboriginal Marshal officers. We transmitted to her, And she responded and stated she acknowledged us being sovereign, but she's not going to get into our affairs. Well, that was great. We got that in writing. So, your queen said this about us, and y'all are here with amnesia. See, so this is not anything new. What impairs people is, wow, if this is so, then what's going to happen to me with this company or my sports deal? You can deal with any company in the world without the direct situation of a governor or representative. You have to start doing business with people that you respect and love you. You don't have to do business with government. You the sovereign. You can do business. If the state cannot service you, I told the tribes, bring your UCC to I. They blocking. And guess what? The chiefs picked up, okay, that's fine. We'll do this. And I said, then we would tell the agencies in the kingdoms what records that we have. And we did that for several years until they moved their hind parts out of the state of Virginia's commissions because they think they can get paid off of a debt note and it's illegal and they're trapping people and never disclose to people that they never had the power to discharge. These are foreigners. It doesn't have anything to do with whether you're white, black, or your skin. I said to you, the elements of the fraud is that somebody, if a porcupine shows up at a chicken pen, he knows that he's not there. The chickens are going to know too. So two things is going to happen. Why are you here, Mr. Porcupine? Do you see some of our corn you want? So if he peck a little bit and they kick a little bit, fine. But he can't come in there spraying them with that. Them chickens are going to peck him. And they're going to peck his hind parts, and they're going to keep on because every creature was given a defense naturally. Even you, ourselves, to be as gods. That was in the Christian text. The Constitution was written, I feel, from something that went wrong. They wrote it after the trespass. You get it? They didn't tell you the story before it. That was somebody on one side in a financial aspect because they chose the vital statistics to stamp your misrepresentation so that they can mishandle you, misrepresentate, ensure, E-N-S-U-R-E, meaning to look like they're going to work towards it, but never does. Assured mean fully, we can, it's done. In short, take your chances because it's a no interest contract. We're not going to do anything. Okay? So they have a trick language. And we stop it. I'm not tricking once I say, I need to see your revenue officer. I'm oversight to that. And I'm suing him. Or I'm going to hold him liable by putting a lien on his vessel, his body. That's what the UCC does. And if you don't comprehend liening, I know somebody put something in here. I don't want to get into that situation because it's not appropriate at this time to be teaching in depth. But a lien is any receipt that you have interest within. Do you comprehend? The one that put that there. Anybody that you have proof that was supposed to perform and didn't. Do you have a receipt, some type of contract or agreement? That's the first lien, common law lien. It exists outside of the court. So we have to stop wrestling with what the judge say. No, you are sinning within your spirit. If the creator of the universe revealed to you that something is under color of law, you are crying because you're part of the conspiracy. So you have to read, pray, and meditate. I'm not saying to what God, I'm not going to get into your faith. And it's not, I respect everybody's faith, but you got to go within and say, if this is fake, then I can't participate. Correct. You have to serve the state. They have an operational system, severability, and learn how to work that. Don't follow behind the angry one, the person bad. Oh, that court, they didn't do anything for me. That was for him. But don't you give up because you've been violated. Don't take the road of thinking that you've been molested and you can't. That's Title 18's 241. They have molestation in there, meaning to like force themselves like a raping in your mind, violating you. They have the term molestation in color of law. That's what it is when they encumber. To deprive you of a right, meaning that somebody act as a father that sired you. So I don't have rights. I'm at liberty. You're not telling not anything. And if you want to try to play this right game, then I'm going to show you via the standing and the status. That's why I have to keep to the tradition of the respect. That's the trespasser. I can only expect from you language like that, sir. That's why I have a writ to stop trespass against liberties. That's what they were created for. No judge was a judge after 1789 via the Judiciary Act of 34. Okay, check it out. 1789 Judiciary Act. No legislation, no rule making in legislation with the intent to encumber the Confederacy, tribes, nations, the common law, any securities. I'll put the Confederacy back in there because I didn't like the United States leaving them out of that. Okay, just like they say, United States with the respect to a state. No, it's not. The state of being is the people that existed here. United States is a foreign corporation with respects to a state. Oh yeah, well, who is the state? Come on, who is the state? Oh well, no, it's not the governor. They didn't want to tell you the state, the being of nature that existed before they got here. If the United States foreign, then what would make the states that incorporated into it and then give you the disclosure? Okay, they're both the same. So that you might have a better situation domestically as an Indian or an Aboriginal or a Native with the state, and the Fed is to enforce that pact that they have with you if the state renege or try to not act like they can't remember anything. Okay, so we're not being dependent upon. What I'm doing here is teaching tribes to do business with each other. Leave the United States alone. What are you crying for? That's there if you need to. Are you a colonist? Are you an employee of okay then? So if you're not an employee, why are you crying? Serve them and then start living, because that's an organization for the dead, for the corpus, okay? For that corp or for that relationship. If you don't like it, severability. If you don't, it's not pertaining. Then transmit via Article 3, ambassador, consul, diplomat, and minister. Nature, natural born, American, non-citizen, American national. Okay, again, you have the full respect and the protection of the state, the police, the FBI, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, Attorney General, all of that. If you are national, see, foreign national, the same. But if you are a enfranchised citizen, then you're in a penal colony and you get the boot. And I don't like that. The boot is broke off in the hide from the colony. And you're not going to get any good relationship from that. That's how they're defined. It's a penal colony.
Okay.
Penal colony.
As a slight aside, question to both of you, given that we're recording this on the 20th of January 2025, which is a very important day for the world with Mr. Trump getting inaugurated, how do you feel about Trump, and will it impact you guys at all in terms of your endeavors?
I can answer you that. I served Donald Trump twice in Loretta Lynch in 2018 with an anti-Lex 40 style decree, and that was to bring to his attention all of the standing that he is subjected to as CEO and to the republic for which he swore. Yeah, we had to contact him. Republic he's standing. It says, and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands for, meaning your operational system that you swore to. And we respect you, but if you're a good president, CEO fiction, then comprehend that you ought to articulate this from your mouth. I didn't hear it, so I made certain that people were reminded. And Loretta Lynch responded. Trump let know through other deputies and people like that that he's aware. So we are here. Well, I'm here for Donald Trump to help him as is defined for him to operate within his capacity. He has my full support in terms of what he did with the family. I think that's the number one thing that he needed to do. And my love to him for that. I've always put that in the papers. I've served every president once I became conscious and every governor, for the past 25 years. And we have a relationship. We are bonded. They have a CEO and a registered agent as well in Delaware. And it brings up Trump is an actor per the United States, and it goes good for the role play for those that are in that circuitry. You see, they needed to get that hope back. They needed to know that they have somebody that cares for them, doesn't speak political. Yeah, I love Trump for that. I have not met him. We have not talked yet, but we will. And when we do, he would comprehend, yes, Mr. Belton, I've been watching you for a while, correct? And let's bring up these accounts that I've been serving you on. And he did articulate the Roman Lex 40. Once we spoke, and Loretta Lynch, before she left, responded to my senior deputy in her way. She initiated that. I think it might have been not the financial fraud situation that Eric Holder did. In fact, in 2009, they put a fraudulent misrepresentation warrant on all U.S. citizens. It's permanent, and all of their actors that they're operating totally under fraudulent misrepresentation. That is Title 15 USC. That is active the date that was put there by the Attorney General Eric Holder. Before Barack Obama came in, then they had Attorney Gonzalez. That no FBI and the United States Marshals process him because he was the highest figure to protect U.S. So the Senate Urban and Banking Community found him guilty by a common law indictment. You see? Oh, yeah, this jurisdiction works. You see? So we are prerogative. That's different than, well, you know, just common law indictments. That's what the local circuitry is. And you're not to pray, petition. You're not to beg or ask for it. You ought to go to a foreman, which is the fourth branch, which is the Bill of Rights, and say, hey, I'm being violated here. And I want to issue a writ. Okay, that's fine. Then they will assemble a grand jury that will come in, and their job is to be aggressive against the civil bond actor, not to protect him. They ought to be there relentlessly saying you are guilty because this specific citizenry has brought you in on a what? Constitutional breach or an act of torturous behavior. That's within the common law book, the sheriff book. So Donald Trump, I know that he's been looking at AMLO here, which is the Aboriginal Martial Law Officers. And I made certain that I was aggressive and we have a local televised broadcast so that he can get the psychology every day. You know, I'm accessible, Belton. I don't hide. You got the address, Trump. You can send everybody by here. And he did. Not him, but Barack did. Barack Obama sent his squad to my house in 2009. And that was the United States Marshal Services. Clay Edwards, which is a good man, much respects to him, and James Kim Ill. And Stacy Hilton was the director of that time of the United States Marshal Services. Guess what course that they became enlightened in? This right here that I'm sharing with you. So I shared with them all of the memorandums and the circuitry within an express sequence because my marshals have an intelligible protocol. So they go out there, be able to transmit from the bailiwick within the, you know, what you may call the resolves or the resolutions that we have. We don't renegotiate. We don't do any of that. We stick on how things are defined because that's where it's at. If you bring politics in, they're running from something. Okay, they're trying to strip down or water it down. It's not. Politician or politicals or polity is subjected to nature, 100%. So I have a person that you know can get to Donald Trump, and our due diligence is to hopefully this year that he would comprehend. I know that we influenced him in the monetary sectors. Yes, we did when we were countering Bank of America. So I'm hopeful for him that he would see I as a good planet Earthling brother that's attending to a system and nothing else. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I've just noticed the time. Obviously, we've gone over the hour. So I think probably the best way to close this conversation is for people to understand how they can get involved, what the education looks like for them, where's the best place for them to go to find out more about what you guys are doing, and what can people do? Because I know that the people I'm involved with and how I got to understand you guys a bit more, these are people that are actively, like you said, going out and going up against the system to protect people's homes. And we've seen how corrupt the police are in this country, and they are actually assisting the bailiffs. They're not, even though it's a civil matter, for some reason the police are getting involved. And it's very aggressive as well. It's not very nice at all. So if somebody's interested in learning more about what you guys do and having the education, because there's a lot to learn, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, firstly, I would suggest that they go to worldmarshalauthority.life website as well, because there's a lot of information on there. There's a lot of links to things that we're involved with. We will be running other sites soon. We will be putting them on, which will be available. Obviously, the Aboriginal Consular Court and so on. That's just been redone. There'll be alternations up as well. And then everything about the currencies we do. So what I'm highly motivated by is the actions of these people and what they've been out there doing, you know, on their own, you know, using their own resources and clubbing in together, bringing that community spirit into the towns, helping others, the people they don't even know. And, you know, we'd like to afford to help them out. We don't need to teach them too much about the laws. They already know. They've already been through it for years and years. And then it's made basically like a meeting of minds. We can bring that indemnification here because, you know, it's a common law jurisdiction. The UCC is still under UCC global jurisdiction. We hold the UCC jurisdiction. So yes, it is active here. Now, if people want to join, I am currently in the process of buying a building local to me, which will be a training center for WMA for people all around the world, including England, you know, Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and so on. And you know, it's just not all about running out there being the enforcer. There's many other sectors to this. It's not just an enforcement and that's it. I mean, I deal on a daily basis with many nations. It's very difficult to get hold of me most of the time. So you're looking at the industry, the agriculture, your healing or healthcares and so on, and all of this, and all of the corruptions within them, the pharmaceutical companies, and we all know about them. I'm only go into long-winded talks about those. But then you're right regarding the police. They actually are, well, they're just basically like a bounty hunter for a fee. Go and get them, and you'll get paid. I mean, they swore an oath to the crown. We all have a crown. But you know, it's majority of the things they do to keep the peace. The first arrest is always common law. They cannot arrest you on an act. They cannot arrest you for a civil dispute unless you're punching somebody in the head about it. You know, and it's none of their business. They have nothing to do with that business. They have nothing to do with it whatsoever. And you know, it's people are standing up for their liberties, for their rights. Well, here we are. Perseverando is right here. That's your liberties. So it is invoked. It is. We do have an IGO with the United Nations. We have the UN DRIP. We have the UN CITRAL. You know, so we're not unfamiliar. Yes, it's very, you know, it's not like I'm on every single day broadcasting on the BBC, okay, or whatever else. We don't do that. It's political. We don't do it. We will have our own channels up soon. We will have our own broadcasting networks and so on. And there is a lot of education to this. And like I said, you know, it took me a couple of years to get my head around it, to really get to grips with everything. And then you just see all of the corruption. I mean, people realize it now. It doesn't take the brains of a rocket science to realize that everything is corrupted. They have an agenda. Agenda means harmful intent, you know. So no, you have the World Martial Authority.life. You have us on TikTok. You have us on YouTube. You have us pretty much everywhere. We've done stacks of videos everywhere. So, you know, we're on Telegram. We do all of these things. We do talks. We do have groups. I think I have about 15, 20 groups on Telegram alone, with various marshals and so on and so forth. I mean, in the numbers of how many marshals there are actually out there, we could take entire militaries on. It's not an individual as such. A general signs up with us, like a few have around the world. Well, there you are, the military's with us. You have to remember that this is a military system. Marshal is a military. So you have all these different marshals around the world, like martial arts. How do they settle things in China with martial arts? Okay, you can afford it. He's not going to pay you. All right, fight it out. Whoever wins, that's it. Job is done. Okay, civil or civil war, civil disputes. That has to be marshaled. Okay, we're not a referee here, but we're here to enforce those codes, the UCC codes. Okay, it's in pursuit of the UCC. So we have an Aboriginal title, UCC, de jure, sovereign, royal format, and it supersedes everything else. And that is obviously requires an enforcement. That's the World Martial Authority. It's global jurisdiction. There's no two ways about this. And you know, that's who we are. So I would suggest firstly going to the website, going through all of the links that are on there. There will be other sites available soon as well for people to go viewing. What we're doing is switching the Aboriginal Consular Court website over to a different system. So that's down at the moment. So we're just switching that over, and obviously there will be updates and upgrades and so on that as well.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, I think I'll draw it to a close. I just wanted this to be more of a simpler introduction. I think there is obviously some complications in there, but it's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, the more you can read and look at those links and sort of educate yourself, the more it will start to sink in a little bit more.
Yeah, it is difficult. Believe you me, I know it is, and and we're very tolerant to people who scream. Yeah, that book is a great one. Yeah, we'll start with that.
Handbook. Yeah,
the Common Law Handbook. You can get it on PDF, or you can get it off Amazon, or you can get it off anywhere. I think it's about £5 or something like that. Okay. I've got a version of it. Yeah, I ordered it off Amazon because I'm terrible with books. I keep losing them. But but no, that's it really in a nutshell. Start there, and then just gradually ease yourself into it. It's not something you're going to learn overnight. It's too much. There's so much information involved with it. And like I mentioned, there's Graham Moore earlier on. He's been at this for years, and he's very, very astute, very good. And so many others. And that's the thing.
Yeah,
you can simplify it. You can simplify it into a format which is you just put in your head and then you just go and bash it out there.
Yeah.
All right. So, but like I said, to be with us, you need to be indemnified. You need to be bonded. There is an oath to this, and that's what secures and bonds and ties you to us and secures you as an internationally protected person.
Is there a cost of being indemnified?
No, I don't. No, basically, we are structuring up a system where we pay you. It's like General said, we don't look for money off anyone. We're not a business. We're an indemnified, or we are fully assured authority, bonded authority. We don't look. We're the ones giving. We're the ones that are assuring everything. We're the ones that are paying it. No one else is. No one else is paying it. All you're getting is a fiat, a promise. Okay, we pay. We're pushing billions into various nations around the world, is what we're doing. But it's getting that knowledge of what discharge actually means and what it is and how to discharge. Once they've got that set in their mind, it's all plain sailing from there. So, like I said, there's other marshals that I want to bring on. They talk about banking and talk about the crypto world. And then there's a couple of other kings that will come in and discuss their nations and what they're doing and their roles with the World Marshal Authority. And so there's a lot to go through. There is a lot.
Yeah.
But I would start with the website and obviously that the Common Law Handbook is a great example there. And start going through the codes. A lot of them are very difficult to comprehend. But once you realize what the codes are saying, then that's it. It was there to create it, to go after, to make that arrest on all of the corrupt. That's what it's there for. So I should close off here. General, do you want to add anything to the end here?
Yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for having us here. And respects, and take your time and study. Don't rush anything. Don't try to force it. The Spirit will guide you if you have a pure spirit. Take your time and learn. Don't rush and ask questions. Even the people that may try to charge you or whatever, just be humble and respectful and take the least path of resistance. Much respect to you.
Okay. Well, thanks for having us, Mel. And we shall look forward to the next one.
You're very welcome. And I think just before I sign off, I'm going to say to the people listening and watching, especially if you know about rapid response and people like that and people trying to arrest judges and that sort of thing, and there's nowhere to put them, well, that's all going to change. Courtesy of the World Marshal Authority, there is going to be a full, proper system put into place where some of these corrupt people can be taken to task. So I just wanted to finish on a high note there because a lot of us are frigging exhausted with the whole bullshit. So,
yes.
But thank you to you both for your time. I know you're both incredibly busy, and so I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye now.